Welcome to Poems and Prompts 4. My name is Brian Whittingham and I'm Renfrewshire Tannahill Macar. And today's subject is Paisley's Robert Tannahill. I'll read a preamble and then my poem A Breeze of Good Fortune and finally suggest a writing prompt. I see Tannahill as an example of someone who had so much more talent than ultimately he was able to appreciate. So, who was Robert Tannahill? Well, he was a weaver poet born in 1774 and raised in Paisley. The family home was also their workplace, which housed up to 4 looms, and at the age of 12 he became a weaver's apprentice and learned his skills as a hand-loom weaver, following in his father's footsteps. Whilst working at his loom, he composed many of his poems and songs using a mix of standard English and Scots. He wrote about many subjects and kept his writing implements and flute beside his loom as he worked. His first poetry collection was published in 1867 and it sold 900 copies, so things were looking up for the young Robert. Though Tannahill did suffer from physical and mental health issues due to a deformity in his leg and other things that had been going on in his life. To alleviate some of these issues, he'd often go for walks in the Glenfrewshire Braes, a place that became one of the main influences on his work, and a place that Paisley buddies to this day still frequent. However, in 1810, his second poetry collection was rejected by a couple of publishers, and this led to a serious bout of depression, compounded by his ongoing health issues. One time, after an episode when he burned all of his manuscripts, friends were loath to let him out of their sight. However, he did manage to avoid their vigilance one morning. A while later, his body was found as he had drowned himself in a culvert at Paisley Canal. This was on the 17th of May, 1810. He was only 36 years old. As he was a suicide, he was buried in unconsecrated ground in Castlehead Cemetery, a sad demise for a shy weaver poet. So what was his legacy? Well, he left a body of poems and songs that readers and listeners have been able to savour over many years. He was a shining light of the Paisley poet-weaver community of his time, and to this day, over 200 years later, his words and music are still enjoyed. He was latterly commemorated by having a statue erected with a statue of Alexander Wilson in 1883. At the time it was noted that Tannahill and Wilson were Paisley weavers of a time of intellectual liveliness, who each gave the world something special. And in his time since his death, there have been concerts held in the Glenfrewshire Braes with attendances of up to 15,000 to honour him. And also, still to this day, we benefit from his creativity and endeavour, and we can reflect on the potential of what he may have further achieved had he not taken his own life. So Tannahill is celebrated as a famous son of Paisley, an affirmation that would have meant the world to him, no doubt. It is often unseen by us, the effect we have on others, and also how our own self-doubt and lack of self-esteem can be misguided and so off the mark. To pay homage to Tannahill's memory, in 2019 I visited Tannahill's grave, subsequently writing the following poem, not to be maudlin about his death, but rather to celebrate the Renfrewshire weaver poet's spirit that seemed to me to permeate Renfrewshire folk to this very day. And this is what I feel his real legacy is. You can still visit his grave to this day, if you have a mind to check it out. This poem is titled A Breeze of Good Fortune. At Canal Street's railway path, the church's wrought iron gates are padlocked with decay. as if the church is a prop for our horror movie. We stumble over dry twigs and crunched leaves, squelch mud underfoot. The thorny undergrowth grabs at our ankles as we wind our way past the dead, headstones consumed by moss. Through this neglect, out of reach and out of touch, for none but the intrepid to find, the remains of Robert Tannahill, buried beside weavers and painters and tinsmiths, and coopers and grocers and farmers, and dyers and bakers and shoemakers, and masons and teachers and cotton spinners, and labourers and tailors and fleshers, and brewers and pawnbrokers, and cholera victims. And his tenant neighbours, the Paisley poor, his sentinels a smattering of yews, trees of death that folklore tells us suck nourishment from the corpses. Perhaps with this weaver of life, they sucked his airs from his cracked flute, and poems that danced to the hum of his whirring limb, then regurgitated them into the air, spores drifting through the years, wherever the breeze of good fortune had a mind to travel, to touch the hearts and souls and ears of any far-flung Paisley buddies, pining for a taste of home. So that's the poem, A Breeze of Good Fortune. So as for prompts, well, my prompt this time is a little bit different. My prompt is one of research. Because whoever you despair of as being better than you perceive you can ever be, I want to research their history, and invariably you'll find they had struggles and rejections to overcome, just as you may have. And I want you to realise, sure, it takes hard work, but your voice is having more of an effect on others than you know. So stick at it and recognise the positive effect you can have in the world around you. After all, Tannahill despaired all these years ago. And I've got a photograph, I've got a painting of his statue outside the Paisley Town Hall, which you can go and see. You should check it out. It's a very interesting statue. Lots of stuff on it. So, thanks for watching. And remember, if you fancy, you can share your own thoughts and ideas in the comments below. It would be great to see them. So keep doing your thing, and it's toodle pip from me. Thank you.